Hey everybody, this is Perch. Let's read this and see where it goes. It says, what was the title? Double whammy or deja vu? More money trouble for comics. I like that. That's very punchy. I should put that in that's the kind of stuff that you put on the YouTube thumbnail and then people watch it. I do. I mean, look, let's all be honest about the game here. If you write something in the thumbnail that's really super negative, you do better. Like, what the fuck is this? Like that is a money thumbnail. It's not a thing you say in the first 60 seconds of your video because you get demonetized when you say something like that, like I just did. But I don't care. So there you have it. Anyway, let's read this bill. It says, "Hi, Perch. Here's a news item that just caught my eye and likely impacts all comics. All of comics. Baker and Taylor, the largest book distributor into libraries, owes publishers money and is being acquired by a company who is only taking the assets and not the debt." We should get into that more another time, but that is a fun move right there. I would guess that Dynamite, Mad Cave, Fantagraphics, Boom, and others with either a Disney license or equivalent high-profile property, Invincible? No, not Invincible, could be having serious deja vu. In addition to the challenges related to the Diamond bankruptcy, they now find themselves owed money from Brooks and Taylor. There's a link to an article, which I'll get to in a second. As a worst-case scenario, it helps me see why IPG announced its own entry into the direct market. If it can source and supply 450 items from the jump, including Baki from Japan. Anyway, less a question and more I just want to share in case you haven't seen it yet, Viva La Comics. Yeah, Viva La Comics indeed. So what is this article and what is this guy talking about? So let's check that out. All right, so basically, you have this deal, this company, Brooks and Taylor, and Brooks and Taylor got. I'm going to really paraphrase, and I'll do it very poorly. This will be like the fortune cookie version of a company. But anyway, Brooks and Taylor is a large distributor to mass merchandisers, non-bookstore outlets, i.e., libraries, universities, places like that. Basically they're getting acquired, but the acquisition will take basically the assets in the business, but not the money owed in the business. And this basically says, again, this is a highly, you notice, by the way, I hope y'all appreciate when I do videos, when I'm saying something that is dubious, I don't try and just fluff you into like, this is the truth. I'm telling you right now, I'm giving you a not an inaccurate version, but a very, a very, very high level version of what's going on. Basically, when you have a company that's acquired for assets, but leaving the debt, the general next step is that the company with the debt just files bankruptcy and flushes it out. And, it's a deal where somebody got paid on the side. Well, not on the side exactly, but it's a way to kind of structure a company that flushes away the losses and allows it to continue in a new entity. But it does definitely screw the creditors, the people who are looking to get their money. So there's a bunch of publishers who are owed money, by the way, not just by comics, but books and everything. And it is unlikely they're going to be paid in full. It's possible, but it's unlikely. Now, in some areas, when you take away the assets, you just have the debt. There can be loans. There can be other things. Sometimes, that works out. But most of the time, the deal that gets kind of presented is you're never going to get your money, but we have restructured in a positive way that allows us to sell in the books, and you'll be back to getting paid. And nobody loves this, but it's like, imagine you're a publisher and somebody comes to you and goes, "Yeah, I haven't paid you for the last 6 months. If you like, you can continue to hope for that money, and you're probably never going to get it. But you can continue to ask me for it, and you could continue to harass me for it, but, odds are I'm never going to pay you." Or you just say, bygones be bygones, stop pressuring me, and, you'll be back to being paid every month. Well, a lot of small publishers will take that deal, and they'll write off the money they're not paid. They don't like it, but they can pass along a little bit of that screwing to the creators and other things. And they basically say, all right, well, at least I'm back on a track and getting paid. I'm not bankrupt today. So if I get paid, my world's only going up from here. And yeah, I'm never going to get that money back. But what are you going to do? If I continue to hold out and push for that cash, strong chance that company will never have the cash, and I won't have the new money either, so I'll be doubly screwed. And that's how a lot of people look at it. Is that dodgy? Yeah. Yeah, that is that it's a hell of a thing. What's quoted here in this news article? Overall, it is a surprise, and there are mixed emotions over this development. Yeah, no shit. Anyway, if you're looking at an analysis of what this means, it is unlikely this is going to have a massive impact to comics. One of the things that was overstated in comics, and it was overstated by a bunch of, frankly, by a bunch of YouTubers, is that libraries were solely responsible for basically saving Marvel and DC and all their woke content, because you had a bunch of lesbian librarians who are buying up just the worst possible shit and basically funding all these companies. So they were basically being super woke because of the librarians. And this is stupid. It was stupid then. It's stupid now. There's no evidence behind this. Zero. Libraries do not, first of all, you don't sell at full cost. There is no resale, so there's no margin involved. You're not like this. It's not a deal where, publishers could survive. If you're Marvel and half your money was coming from libraries to buy your content, it's not a core revenue stream. It's your worst possible revenue stream. Your margin is as close to zero. You're selling under. And then also, how many libraries are there in the country? There's a lot, right? There's a lot. How many comics are libraries buying every month? How many graphic novels? Marvel produces 80 comics a month plus. There are, a library may get 3 to 4 graphic novels a month, maybe. Unlikely, but maybe. How many copies of these graphic novels? I mean, when's the last time you went to a library? Do you go to the library shelf and there's 50 copies of Squirrel Girl there? No, they buy 1, maybe 2. That's what they're buying. Okay, so how many libraries? I bet ChatGPT can actually tell us this, but how many libraries are there in the United States? The math doesn't math. You know what I mean? I know that's a very Gen Z? I don't know. But this was an absurd comment. So the reality is, how bad is this for comics? Not that bad. How bad is this for just publishers who try to find other revenue streams? I mean, look, when you're not getting paid, you have to just eat shit. And no, it's not good. None of this is great. But the odds are this has a very limited impact to the country. It's anti-comics. So how many libraries, by the way, are there in the U.S.? Well, according to ChatGPT, there are 124,000 libraries in the U.S. Okay, that's a lot. Okay, but again, let's go back. So the book itself is sold close to at cost. The margin that a comic publisher would get from a library is sub 10%. Okay, 10% of sale for whatever was sold. Much of that gets eaten up just in logistics. All right, so it is not a good revenue stream. I don't know, Perch, but why can we trust you? You could actually go to the annual reports of Disney and Warner, where they list out the nonprofit public institutions and the amount of product going there. There's something called periodicals. You're basically combining things like DC Comics and Mad Magazine and I don't know, whatever the hell else DC Publishing. But anyway, 124,000 libraries. All right, let's say each one of those is buying a copy of Miss Marvel, the graphic novel, that is super woke. It isn't, but let's just say it is. And you're getting a 10% margin. I mean, do I need to spell it out for you? It's piss money. Marvel and DC make millions of dollars. The library sale is not keeping the company afloat, and this is absurd. But it was a fun thing to say because basically the argument was, hey, I went into a library one day. I found a super gay book. It clearly is because the library is trying to gay your kids. Therefore, there's a comic book in that library, so the librarians must be picking the gayest possible comic books to have in the library that is going to gay up everybody. And this is how Marvel is staying in business. And there's so many weird things about that whole line of thought. Bear in mind, none of this is me saying that like a lot of the trades and things produced by the big two publishers that they do try and sell into libraries are good. Well, those comics are terrible. But anyway, look, the reality is in the publishing business, back to the original mail, you've got a lot of really bad deals out there. You have a lot of, it's a bad time. If you're in the print resale world, you're not having a great time. It is messy. And yeah, there's not an obvious answer to that at the moment. You've got a bunch of, you have a margin low business, meaning the money that people make from reselling this stuff is small. You have an increasingly shrinking channel. The places where the books are sold is getting smaller and smaller, not bigger. And it's a tough business. Printing, supply chain, distribution, all that stuff is tough. The comic book business, the publishing business is not great right now. And you're going to see a lot more stories like this of companies going bankrupt, having to fold. By the way, none of this is me saying, it's no big deal. It honestly isn't a big deal, but it's not good. Comic book publishers need every dollar they can get. A channel going this direction doesn't help them. Now, maybe they restructure and they start making more money than ever, but that is unlikely. Anyway, I appreciate the mail because it is a chance to talk kind of about the business and what's true and what's not, and that's a tricky way to go about doing things. But anyway, that's my answer. There you go. Beat it up. I feel like these are the kind of videos where people come in and they like downvote the video and they're putting in the comments like, "Yo, but Perch, it's gay." Do you like? I always want to respond to some of these people. Like, do you hang out in libraries? Like, do you go in libraries, go to the place where all the gay books are, and just hang out there and watch what kids buy them? Because that's weird, bro. Thanks for listening.